Bob takes Nick's car and drives off as the FBI and police flood the area. Bob hides in an automated car wash, grabbing a first aid kit from the back seat to treat his wounds and prepare for his next move. Bob heads back into the city streets, where a wild car chase unfolds. Cornered near a river with nowhere else to go, he reverses the car and plunges it straight into the water. As the vehicle sinks, Bob escapes by latching onto a passing barge, riding it to safety. On the other side of the river, he hotwires an old van and speeds away, leaving the police scrambling. Meanwhile, news outlets are buzzing about the assassination attempt, showing surveillance footage that identifies Bob as the prime suspect. Rookie FBI agent Nick watches in shock as his earlier encounter with Bob plays on TV. Back at headquarters, Nick faces senior agent Howard Purnell, who mocks him for failing to stop Bob. Nick defends himself, claiming Bob told him he was set up. Purnell dismisses his story, suggesting the rookie is confused and should drop the matter. That night, Bob sneaks into a grocery store, cutting the power to stay hidden while grabbing supplies. With limited options, he breaks into a mechanic's shop to steal tools and rigs up a makeshift IV system to rehydrate and keep himself going. Despite his injuries, Bob's survival instincts keep him one step ahead. At the FBI office, Nick gets a tip from the grocery shopkeeper, who thinks Bob might have visited her store. Nick shares this with fellow agent Russ, realizing Bob is using old-school survival techniques to treat himself. While Russ brushes it off, Nick grows more determined, digging into the case. He notices inconsistencies in the official report, especially with the bullet trajectory, and starts piecing together that something isn't adding up. The next day, Nick shares his suspicions with Agent Galindo, who drops a bombshell. The local cop who shot Bob has been found dead in an alley. It's clear someone's cleaning up loose ends. Meanwhile, Bob, now disguised as a mechanic, heads to Kentucky to visit Sarah, Donnie's widow. When Sarah sees him at her door, she's understandably wary, having watched the news labeling him an assassin. Bob insists he wouldn't travel all this way to lie, reminding her of the close bond he shared with Donnie. As he parks his truck in her garage, Sarah picks up the phone to call the police, but hesitates and changes her mind. Inside, Sarah recalls the letters Bob sent after Donnie's death and the flowers he sent yearly to comfort her. Slowly, she starts to trust him. She also confirms that the president wasn't harmed. The archbishop took the fatal shot instead. Bob, weak from his injuries, asks Sarah to buy some supplies and stitch him up. Though inexperienced with medical work, she uses embroidery techniques to close his wounds, doing her best to help. Elsewhere, Nick digs deeper into the assassination. Investigating the surrounding area, he examines the steeple of a local church and finds tripod marks on the wood floor. Suspicious, he visits an internet cafe and contacts a weapons expert in an anonymous chat room. The expert sends him a video demonstrating automated tactical precision rifles. From this, Nick pieces together a critical detail. The rifle at the scene wasn't fired by Bob, but was remotely operated. At Sarah's house, Bob wakes up and realizes her patchwork medical skills saved him. Grateful for her help, he thanks her despite the grief she's carried over Donnie's death for years. Determined to clear his name, Bob asks Sarah to contact Nick and share vital information about the setup. Before he leaves, Sarah gives him Donnie's old hunting rifle, urging him to protect himself. Their conversation turns personal, and emotions surface. They embrace, hinting at growing feelings. Awkward timing, right?